Minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Jefferson Smith on the line with us, that I think one day is going to be the governor or senator from the state of Oregon. He is currently as a member of the State House of Representatives, District 47, jeffersonsmith.com, his website, and one of the most insightful people that I know when it comes to grassroots activism. Hey, Jefferson, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom, it's great to hear your voice.
You have been involved with the Bus Project and many other grassroots activism issues or projects, causes, whatever you want to call it, and help make them happen, help participate in them, all kinds of things like this. Let's talk a little bit about, as you say, grassroots activism for fun and I don't know if profit is the right word, but for fun and election results.
Maybe public profit, not very much private profit.
Yeah, fun and making a difference.
Right. I think that your listeners know that we know that the best way to increase voter participation is human contact, right? Phone calls, if they don't get too obnoxious, face-to-face contact, neighbor-to-neighbor contact, in your church, in your synagogue, in your grocery store. We know that stuff is the most effective. And for people who might not know about the Bus Project, what we started is buying a bus and taking it around to the legislative districts there are, listening to voters and talking to voters, and we've turned that into that habit of getting people engaged in their community into doing some fun things. Why don't you just
Jeff, let's just start at the beginning. Tell us about the Bus Project, for example. How did this come up? What is it? It sort of sounds like 10 keys,
Yeah, exactly. It's a little like Further, a little different. It started out with a few ideas. One, that we needed to do more to engage our next generation. Two, that we needed to get across geographic boundaries and listen to our neighbors, even the neighbors who don't live next door. Three, that we work on grassroots strategies for sort of a new era of democracy. And we bought a bus because, why not?
Sure.
And we took that bus to the closest legislative districts there were, and a high-ranking political operative told us that volunteerism is dead, that we were crazy, it would never work. We wanted to go on about 10 bus trips and knock on about 30,000 doors. He was right. We didn't do that. We went on about 14 bus trips and knocked on 70,000 doors. It was back in 2002.
Wow.
Since then, the Bus Oregon has hit with volunteers, about 300,000 doors, registered 70,000 voters, helped transform Oregon politics, and now started affiliated organizations in Montana, Colorado, and Washington.
Jefferson, you are your own acorn. When is Fox News going to come after you?
Probably right after this interview, man.
I see. Okay. You're right.
Somebody's listening. I don't know. Something bad's going to happen. Glenn Beck's going to put me on a chalkboard and, link me to, I don't know, somebody I've never met before.
You and Woodrow Wilson.
Right. But anyway, and then we just started trying to do fun stuff. And one of the big things that right now, what we realized is that voter suppression or voter activity is itself a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. And in fact, the article that my very first post on the Huffington Post that is also right now up on BlueOregon.com. My friend Card Chisholm runs a great website, BlueOregon.com.
He does.
Story there is about that. Is about when we hear commentators saying enthusiasm gap, or we hear them say, young people or poor people, don't really care about democracy, they're not voting. That itself is a voter suppression tactic. And so if we can turn around those stories, show and highlight all the great stories of people getting engaged in their community, all the fun ways to participate, like one I want to plug before I jump off the air or you kick me off, is the kind of thing we've got to be doing.
Well, go ahead and plug it right now.
All right. So we know that the best way to increase voter participation is by face-to-face contact, like knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And what's the one cultural tradition we have in our country that involves knocking on doors?
Halloween.
Well, there you go. And when is Halloween?
Yeah, it's coming up in a couple of weeks.
It's always right before the election.
Right.
It's always just a few days before the election. So we might be told to trick or treat, but we're never told to vote. And so we started this little thing. It turned into the biggest door-to-door canvass in our state history on a day, and we had about 800 people. Yeah. 227 of them checked the boxes of the first political thing I've ever done. Now it's happening at about 60 locations around the country at various sizes, and turning into a fun tradition. Get the costume, go out, knock on doors of your neighbors remind them to vote, really just positive, fun thing. And that's that, and it's really great.
That is really great, and this is not just being done in Oregon, Jefferson Smith.
No, we've got big ones in several western states, and if you go on triggervote.com or triggervote.org, I think both will take you there. There's actually a link to it also in the column that we've got in the Huffington Post and on Blue Oregon that links to the same place. And heck, you can go to my Twitter feed at Jeffersonians. I'm just getting brand new on the Twitters as well. I'm just finally getting engaged with this thing called a computer. You can find all the locations. I think we're up to about 60 locations on various campuses and towns around the country. And if there's not one in your town, you can start one.
And you can find all that information at triggervote.com or .org, jeffersonsmith.com. Check out Jefferson Smith's articles on Huffington Post and blueoregon.com. Jefferson, other forms of activism. We have about a minute left. What do you say to those people who say, when I voted for Obama, I thought I was voting for change, and yeah, it's a hell of a lot better than the Bush administration. If John McCain was president, we would be we'd be in Vietnam on steroids in both Iraq, Afghanistan, and probably Iran by now. It's a good thing he didn't win, but Obama hasn't done enough.
For me, anybody who thinks that the most important repository of their activism are national elections is missing the key, or at least a really key understanding about democracy. We have our greatest impact on our state and local issues, which, by the way, that's where healthcare funding is determined. That's where education funding is determined. That's where road funding is determined. And so the folks I know that get engaged in their city council races and their state legislative races and their gubernatorial races, even at a little bit bigger scale. And then, by the way, everybody who turns out to vote in one of those races is going to fill out the rest, the top of their ballot.
There you go.
You can't necessarily say the same thing about the top of the ticket. So
you got it, Jefferson. Jefferson, I'm assuming you can't hear the music right now, right?
I can't hear the music right now.
Okay, well, it's playing, so we got to wrap it. Jefferson Smith, jeffersonsmith.com is probably the best place to start on all this. Thank you, Jefferson. Great work.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.